Welcome to Dad's DeFi Space. I'm Kevin, and I'm so grateful you've taken a moment out of your day to spend it with me, your guide to everything crypto and DeFi. Today, we're going to take a look at how to keep ourselves safe with all the crypto scams out in this space. I think with the bull run hopefully picking up steam in the near future, that this will be an important video to watch all the way until the end. But before we begin, remember, none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a dad who likes to play around in this crypto and DeFi space. It is risky. You can lose all your money. All right, now that we got that out of the way, I want to get into today's video. Crypto has changed my life, but not always in the way I had hoped. At one point, I was close to losing it all. Um, I had so much of my assets, my crypto assets, put into Celsius and Voyager, and at one time BlockFi and FTX. I basically chose all the centralized exchanges last cycle where you were going to lose your money. So this all began with the Terra Luna crash, which we're going to talk about in just a minute and look into how can we keep ourselves safe in this space. And after this crash, billions vanished overnight, just immediately. So today I'm pulling back the curtain on some of the biggest scams in crypto's history, and also, what lessons can you learn to save your portfolio? Let's get going. So, when Terra Luna exploded, it wasn't just one project going down, it triggered this domino effect. I watched in real time as not only did Terra and their Anchor protocol collapse, and yes, they were offering these ridiculous 30-40% yields. No one knew where it was coming from. But around the same time, you had Voyager, or excuse me, Three Arrows Capital went insolvent. Voyager began to shut down, and you had the collapse eventually of Alameda Research and FTX, which, if you've been in this space any bit of time, you have probably heard about that one. It taught me something in crypto, though, after the Three Arrows collapse, and that's you have to understand the tokens you're investing in, the teams behind them, and with DeFi protocols, where is that yield coming from, right? If you're not doing the research, you are gambling with your future. But let's take a trip back in time and take a look at some of the token scams in the earlier days of the crypto space. First, I'd like to take a look at OneCoin. So, OneCoin was a global crypto scam disguised as the next Bitcoin. It was launched in 2014 in the early days, way before my time, by a woman named Ruja Ignatova, aka she was known as the Crypto Queen. OneCoin wasn't even a real blockchain, it was just a high tech pyramid Ponzi scheme piece of garbage wrapped in buzzwords like fake education practices, real yield, and better than Bitcoin. And we've heard all of this before. Now, over 3 million people were scammed, giving their money up for OneCoin. Somewhere between $4 to $19 billion disappeared, and this crazy woman vanished. In fact, the FBI is still hunting her right this minute. But if they haven't found her now, do you really think she's going to show up? Hard to say. Many out there even believe that she is still dead, but all those people who were scammed out of their money, those coins are gone. Don't invest in a project that fails to implement. There was no strategy, there was no plan, no blockchain, just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Now, if you take a look at the US State Department is still even offering a reward for her whereabouts. I can't believe billions and billions of dollars missing, but that's just the beginning. Another scam that came a little bit later, this one would have been around right before I got into the game, and the BitConnect scandal, they were offering ridiculous yields on crypto assets deposited, Bitcoin. They said something about a proprietary trading bot. It could earn each each user around 1% per day in yield. No one knew where this was coming from, and this one ended up collapsing upon itself. So this man was actually indicted. He was a man from India, Satish Kumar Kurjahabi. I am so sorry. I'm going to cut that out. But prosecutors said that the BitConnect investors lost everything. And this man was indicted. What they were offering. This is believed to be one of the largest cryptocurrency scams ever. Now, another one that I do remember last cycle is during last cycle, there was a huge network series called Squid Games. But no, seriously. Squid Games, um, crazy movie. This token was just trying to jump on the hype train with it. And if you remember the Squid Game token, it jumped to nearly $3,000 and almost immediately crashed to zero. The developers of the Squid Game token vanished with over $3 million missing. Now, what's crazy about this one is people were buying into it, and it was a honeypot. A honeypot meaning you could buy the token, but you couldn't sell the token. And they were trying to scrub that information from the internet, from users, and a lot of unsuspecting investors lost it all with the Squid Game token. But little piece of advice, and again, not financial advice, but just life advice. Um, Stay away from celebrity tokens and stay away from um, tokens named after Netflix series. Just saying. Now, the big granddaddy of them all was the Terra Luna collapse from last cycle. Now, the UST collapse of last cycle. See, UST was supposed to be a stable coin, but when it depegged in May of May of 2020, the whole system began to unravel. They had Anchor Protocol that was offering these ridiculous yields on just a stable coin, like 30% or something like that. But they even bought up all this Bitcoin that was supposed to help stabilize the price of UST. Now, you need to understand this was not a treasury backed stablecoin. This stablecoin was an algorithmic stablecoin, but it hyperinflated. And when it lost its peg, there was a rush to get rid of this token. 40 billion gone. So this ended up collapsing Three Arrows Capital, who then Voyager took out a loan. It triggered massive liquidations around the market. This is when eventually FTX collapsed, and you had the bottoming of the bear market when Bitcoin dropped almost all the way down to $15,000. People thought it was the end. But it wasn't if you just held on to Bitcoin. But we'll get into more of the details of how this affected some of the centralized exchanges and what you can do about it. But before that, please take a moment to check out our webpage and our articles at dadsdefispace.org and consider joining the private group. Also, if you're interested in upping your DeFi game, Crypto Labs Research Underdog Investment Group, links below, check them all out, and let's get back to what we were talking about. Now, just recently, the Mantra token, drum roll please, dropped over 90% in hours. Now, the team held 90% of the supply, and many believe that they dumped. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But what I do know is that in a matter of hours, Mantra, the RWA play, darling of this cycle, collapsed. You really should check out some of these snippets from CoffeeZilla's interview with one of the founders. Check it out. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about some of the problems with centralized exchange. And yes, we have referral links for exchanges like Weeks and Blowfin, even Coinbase, Crypto.com, Gemini. These are all exchanges that we use. But I want to make one thing perfectly clear with all of my followers, and that is I do not keep all of my cryptocurrencies on a centralized exchange. I keep the majority of my Bitcoin in a cold storage wallet. Most of my DeFi positions are in hot wallets that I either have smaller amounts in or are tied to a ledger or another hard wallet device. Now, when you keep deposits within exchanges, they have control and custody of your coins. So you always have that risk. Never, ever keep more on an exchange that you're willing to lose. In fact, I tend to only keep on exchanges some of my Ethereum-based tokens because they're so expensive to move at times, and then also to actively trade or provide liquidity. So last cycle, I got warning about all three of these exchanges and managed to pull my money out before it was too late. Now, each one of these, I ended up having automatic deposits that went through that I forgot to turn off. My fault. And so I think losses totaled around $600. But FTX, Voyager, Celsius, and Three Arrows Capino were not random failures of the end of last cycle. And it wouldn't surprise me if something like this happens again this cycle. But during the end of the bull, when everybody was hyper fixated and hyper excited on price, these collapsed. It all began with the collapse of Terra Luna. The Luna bet killed the crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. And Three Arrows Capital had taken a multi-billion-dollar uncollateralized loan from Voyager. In fact, I'd like to give a shout out to Digital Asset News. Rob, thank you for warning me. Please find good content creators out there who are going to be truthful and honest with you, because he was willing to admit he was wrong, and he warned his users this was about to happen. And if I hadn't have listened to that information, I would have lost my entire account. And that was Voyager. And it happened again with FTX. It happened again with Celsius, even, although that was a close call because I did not think that money was going to hit my account before the exchange ended up shutting down. And that is a scary feeling. So I don't mean to be negative with this video, but if you are going to invest and play in the crypto space, this is an important thing to discuss. Now, one of the last things I really wanted to discuss today are what are some of the traits of a crypto scam. So understand that one of the hardest parts is trusting yourself. You have to trust your gut feelings if something doesn't feel right. If you can't place where the yield is coming from, it's probably coming from you. Now, what are some of the red flags that we can look into to keep us safe from bad tokens, bad exchanges? Here are four that you can follow. One, don't invest in anything with anonymous founders. If they're anonymous, there is zero accountability. And if there's not um, founders, if the founders have not been doxxed, then you are taking a huge risk, and that should be thought of accordingly. Now, there are no audits on the blockchain or within the exchange. No audits usually means there could be hidden traps. And also, especially if those audits are done by the project themselves. Ponzi alert usually comes from the returns on this are too good to be true. That is a big red flag. And what you always want to make sure that the community is active, the team and their marketers are in communication with the public most of the time. Now, if communication is bad, they might be ghosting you. It might be a rug pull. Just something to think about. So, if you're truly serious, you need to use scanners like Etherscan and SoulScan, depending on the blockchains that you like to play with. DeFi Llama, great for research. Token Unlocks. That's a good web page too to check out tokenomics and how much the team and how long they have those tokens vested. This is stuff you must verify before you invest any large sums of money. So, what are some of the biggest lessons that I learned throughout all of this? Number one, yeah, crypto can change the world, but we need to be smarter. I've lost a lot playing around with the wrong centralized exchanges, trusting them, trusting tokens. Here's how you can protect yourself. First off, join communities like ours, Dad's DeFi Space. There are so many good communities out there. And even if you don't join ours, join somebody's. Underdog Investment Group isn't a bad community to join either. Now, always diversify. Never put all of your money into one token or one platform. Stay informed, follow market news, follow the trends. There are many ways to do this, and AI makes it even easier to do. Stay informed. Excuse me. Question everything, because if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And always check the receipts. Always do your own research. Always verify. Now, if you happen to find this video helpful, you should smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. So, what has been the biggest lesson crypto has taught you since your investing journey began? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and be safe out there. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.